And what I don't remember following that was any of you guys who are now so passionately against pornography as it pertains to Andrew Tate and his history. I don't remember that same amount of energy being used to speak out against Dennis Prager and the child pornography, AI pornography discussion.
Would you use the word evil of animated child pornography? Because I certainly would.
No, I would use evil only with behavior. That's where we might differ, forgetting the sex issue. You can't be evil. You didn't do evil if you thought evil. You did evil
if I'm
if you
masturbating to animated pictures of I'm not doing something evil.
That's correct.
Yeah, I think that's despicable. Yeah.
Really?
Yes, of course.
Who is being hurt? You have to have a victim.
Oh, I'll tell you, there's at least two people being hurt. There's the person who's poisoning himself by encouraging him to think, acting out on children, and there's also the animator.
But I just don't remember you guys being so vociferous about this clip, and to the contrary, I remember there being almost a wall of silence.
So we need to talk about Candace Owens and the Daily Wire and the beef that the Daily Wire apparently has with Candace Owens, because I wouldn't even say that she has a beef with them. It appears that they have a beef with her. They're like the Daily Wire has become like the bitter ex that's pissed off because you've moved on with your life and you're doing just fine without them. Because as everybody know, Candace Owens was fired last year from the Daily Wire, and I don't even think it's a secret at this point. She was essentially fired, and Andrew Klavan came out and confirmed that she was fired because she was saying things that was deemed as anti-Semitic, which is actually very hilarious because conservatives are supposed to be the party that is against censorship, and Ben Shapiro is supposed to be a person that claims that facts don't care about your feelings. But when it comes to Israel, as we all know, when it comes to Israel and Jews, there's special treatment that goes around. And this right here was the prime. I knew it before, but this really taught me all over again that anti-Semitism to the right is what racism is to the left. I say, you really want to find out where you fall with a person? Criticize a Jewish person while talking to a conservative, or criticize a black person while talking to a leftist, and you'll quickly find out where you fall with that person. Well, things have been wrapping up because apparently this Christ is King term, which as a Christian, I'm a Christian, a lot of you all are Christians, that's what we believe. Christ is King, Christ is Lord. But as a lot of you all know, the people over at the Daily Wire claims that this is not only an anti-Semitic slur, but it's just downright hateful. And it's gotten even worse to the point now where they are going on Twitter and literally tagging Candace Owens. The people at the Daily Wire tagging this woman. Some of them are not tagging her, but it's clear that they're talking about Candace Owens and some of her recent appearances on podcasts.
I believe in, like what I believe in as a Christian, obviously that is where I stand, why I am against what Bibi Netanyahu is doing. And that's just not something that is going to change because people are calling me anti-Semitic. I have a Christian perspective on the murder of children, and it doesn't adapt if that child is a Jew or if that child is a Christian, if that child is a Palestinian, or if that child is Israeli. And that seems to really bother people who are aligned with the Zionist initiative. And I believe some people in that space genuinely believe that it is sadder if an Israeli child dies than if a Palestinian child dies. Irrespective, I will just re-up that tweet again for you that Jeremy wrote. And even though my name was not explicitly used, there were only 2 podcasts that went out that day on major platforms, Theo Von and Joe Rogan, and this was his tweet. Yesterday was a terrible day for American Jews. The embrace by so many prominent voices of demented, conspiratorial, anti-Jewish voices is one of the saddest, most alarming events in my lifetime. This way lies madness, and worse than madness. Do not let the times cost you your soul. Audience capture and unchecked tribalism are tools of the devil. Paranoia and revisionism are too. Even if they really are out to get you, heck, even a righteous cause can lead us to evil if we don't guard our hearts in the quest. The wicked often prosper, and the temptation to prosper often tempts us to join them. But only God offers the richness of salvation, and he already came for us, the only Jewish scapegoat for our sin and fear. Leave the rest of them alone.
And I think, again, I'm going to say this real quick. These people are jealous because Candace Owens not only left the Daily Wire and is doing just fine, even though they claim that a lot of people's claiming that she was going to fall off by the wayside. Not only did she not fall off by the wayside, but she has like the number 3 podcast in the world. Her views are absolutely ridiculous on YouTube alone. Her popularity has only increased. Her subscriber count has now exceeded the Daily Wire's YouTube subscriber account. And I would say she is literally number 1 over everybody over the Daily Wire. Everybody. I think the only person that could have competed with her was Brett Cooper. Ironically, the only other woman that was over there, and Brett Cooper, as we know, is no longer at the Daily Wire. So let's take a listen to what has ramped up this beef again from Candace Owens.
All right, guys, happy Thursday, and I am so sorry that we are late. I obviously have been very honest with you about what's going on. I wanted to at first calm myself down, make sure that I approached this topic quite rationally. Again, there have just been another set of, I would just call them bizarre attacks on the phrase Christ is King. They are coming out of absolutely nowhere, as they were coming out of absolutely nowhere last year when they were being framed as anti-Semitic, and I want to discuss this thoroughly.
I just want to interrupt for just a sec to say, first of all, thank you so much for watching this video. And if you're new to the show, please know we're thirsty to grow and to drink some of this warm water with lemon. You can help us out by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. But don't worry, I'm going to give you 5 seconds to hit that like button for me. Thank you. Please follow us on our other socials as well. Thank you for your support.
So for those of you that are new to my podcast, and everybody I guess is new to my independent podcast, last year, almost exactly a year, I was fired from the Daily Wire. I think it was March 22nd or March 23rd. And after we agreed to part ways, within 24 hours, it might have been 48 hours, Andrew Klavan of the Daily Wire released a 1-hour video essentially accusing me of many things, but referring to me as anti-Semitic, trying to link me to Nick Fuentes. There was no link between me and Nick Fuentes, but the ADL and Andrew Klavan tried to sort of establish one in his video, and they did this via Twitter, and then said that the most egregious thing that I had done was used Christ is King against a Jew. And that is just completely not factual. I've never once uttered that phrase at a Jew. At the time that this happened in March, I had not tweeted that phrase, I don't believe, since the prior November is what he was referring to.
But why does it matter? Even if you were talking about Jews or you were using it towards a Jew, why is that a problem? The statement in itself is still true. The statement in itself is still the truth. Me walking into a room full of women, or a trans man, or woman or female that feel like they're a man on the inside, and I come into the room and I, for whatever reason, state that I'm a man, that isn't hateful towards this trans man. It's still a fact that I'm a man. I shouldn't be subjugated from saying something that's true simply because it would hurt the other person's feelings. I thought that's what the right was against, and I thought that's what the left was for. Apparently not at the Daily Wire. Things have gotten so bad that they literally conducted a study, and not only did they conduct a study, they went a step further and put together a video bashing Candace Owens and trying to link her to Nick Fuentes, Andrew Tate, and other people as this secret group of people who have this secret evil plan against Jews and trying to increase the amount of anti-Semitism in the world.
And what's really offensive to me, first and foremost, is that it's Lent season. Okay. And what you have going on right now is this study. I find this timing to be remarkably suspicious. The way they're trying to pull Christians apart and make them think that they can be a better Christian is so reminiscent to me of a discussion I had with Dr. Ben Carson, actually, about slavery. And he was saying, and that, historically speaking, this was sort of the concept of the field Negro and the house Negro, right? Like, you're the house Negro, so you're preferred. That's the field Negro. You don't want to be a field Negro, you want to be a house Negro. So here's what you have to do to be a house Negro. This is the same sort of a psychological tactic. They're essentially saying there are certain types of Christians that are beyond the pale. And if you want to be a good little house Christian, here's all you have to do. Condemn them. Condemn them that are out in the field. And I won't play this game anymore. And what I am particularly peeved about regarding this study, which Jordan Peterson took part in, is when you look at, because I just said, okay, who funded this study? Who did this study? Is this Christians coming together and recognizing a problem amongst Christians? Because that would make a little more sense. I would still strongly disagree. But if it was all Christians that came together in front of the study and said, hey, we really have a problem and we've got to address it, then I would be much more understanding this Lenten season. But it's not that. Okay, it's not that. Look at the list of the people who were part of the study. So I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 individuals who took place in this study. The first principal investigator there that you have, Dr. Lee Jussum, is Jewish. Dr. Jordan Peterson has said he does not believe in Christ. We're going to get to him in a second. So he's unknown, I guess we could say, an atheist perhaps. Reverend Dr. Johnny Moore, who I would refer to as the token Christian, because he's the only one, and he's the one that retweeted this study and got this going this morning. We're going to speak more about him. Then we have Dr. Joel Finkelstein, who is Jewish. We have Jacob Zucker, who is Jewish. We have Danit Sarah Finkelstein, who is Jewish. We have Sonia Yanofsky, who is Jewish. We have Alex Goldenberg, who is Jewish. We have Ohad Fadida, who is Jewish. We have Gideon Furher, who we checked, and he is Jewish. We have Simon Lazarus, who is Jewish. And the last two, Anisa Jagdeep and Ankita Jagdeep, are presumably Hindu, but they are Indian. So it says this is a study that was funded by Jews to make Christians war with one another during the Lenten season. And I'm going to show you just how explicit it is in its condemnation of me and in Christians who follow me as they attempt to drive a wedge between us, which I want to be very clear is not going to happen. Take a listen.
Since the advent of Christianity, Christ is King has been a cry for connection to the divine, a declaration of faith, a moving signal between Christians of their shared values. But what happens when it becomes a manipulation tactic designed to deceive Christians? Mentions of Christ as King have increased fivefold on platforms like X in just the past 4 years. At first glance, it would seem hopeful as people begin to reinvestigate faith in the face of increasing secularization and chaos in the world. But the NCRI, an organization at the forefront of monitoring deep trends in data, observed a striking and nefarious development around the phrase Christ is King beginning in 2021. In 2024, more than 50% of all engagements around Christ is King posts were driven by extremist influencers. The word extremist gets used a lot, and many are understandably skeptical at its use. But we're talking about people like this.
I used sex as a tool to make women love me so they'd obey me and live in my house and make me money.
Catholics and Christians were going missing on Passover, then they would find bodies, and they were able to trace them back to Jews. Blood libel.
Real Africans, on average, have an IQ of 65.
Posts like these achieved over 13.6 million views and more than 100,000 engagements during Easter 2024 alone. While co-opting the phrase for their toxic narrative, figures like Candace Owens and Jake Shields repeat hateful blood libels. And shockingly, by 2024, the most frequently associated term with Christ as King was the word Jew. The intent is clear: manipulate well-meaning, faithful Christians into having their beliefs tethered to psychopaths. This is nothing short of diabolical. We're caught watching Christ is King being taken by the supremacist right more and more each day. These connections matter. The spiritual, the linguistic, the interpersonal. They shape us, they shape our society, and they shape the world. So what kind of connections do we want to build? And more importantly, what kind of world will we help create? Help retake our values.
Whose values? Whose values? And I'm asking that question meaningfully. Whose values are we speaking about? Because you should come forward and you shouldn't use a token Christian if you want to attack Christians, and particularly by using a video clip that's about 3 seconds taken completely out of context to make it seem as though I was screaming and ranting about Jews is completely ridiculous, and it's unbelievably dishonest. And I want to be very clear. People are beginning to see right through you, okay?
Nobody believes you, bro. Nobody believes you. Which makes it so funny because they literally fired Candace Owens for the very reason they hired Candace Owens. What do I mean? For her unmitigated gall to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. So help you God. The problem is that for the longest, Candace Owens was willing to say the truth about the black community, but the moment she started saying the same truth about the Jewish community and a lot of stuff that happens over there, saying a lot of truth about Israel, that was out of bounds. That was off limits. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She has to go. And I think the most cowardice thing is that, as we all know, Candace Owens has signed an NDA, so she can't really say what she wants to say about the Daily Wire. So she's under this chokehold where she can't really say what she wants. But I believe personally that the Daily Wire is using other people that's over there at the Daily Wire to go after Candace Owens. People like Jordan Peterson, who went on Twitter and had this to say about Candace.
I knew that it wouldn't stand because it wasn't true. I have no hatred in my heart towards Jewish people. I have no hatred in my heart towards Christians. I have no desire to divide Christians. I have a desire, I hope, for Christians to come to the fullness of truth. I hope that Christians, and I hope that this discussion will wake up many Christians to what Christian Zionism really is, which I believe is the abuse of scripture to get people to align with what has always been a political party. Jews did not support the Zionist movement when it began. That's a fact. Historically speaking, Jews worldwide did not support the Zionist movement. And in the moment right now, there are Jews who do not support the Zionist movement. And they're told that they're not Jews, which lets you know that it is not a faith. It is not a faith. It is a political party. That is my belief, and it is not subject to change because I'm being smeared again by Barry Weiss's The Free Press. So let's get to Jordan Peterson's tweet. Let's see how he has weighed on this as a non-Christian. Jordan Peterson writes, Candace Owens, a true pharisaical pretender. She vociferously proclaims her devotion to Christ for no other reason than to elevate her perceived status, her outrage designed not to shout the truth from the rooftops, build bridges, or make peace, but to subvert Christianity itself with its new force to her own purposes. She is literally using God's name in vain. There are few more unforgivable sins. I want to again remind you, he is not a Christian. He does not accept Christ. Okay, so he must not know what it means to be pharisaical. For him to be doing this as someone who has publicly declared that he does not believe in Christ, yeah, well, there might be a reason that he got absolutely destroyed in the comments of people waking up and going, wait, what are you doing? This is Rabbi Shmuley.
I mean, Candace said it in her episode, but I'm going to say it in my own way. The irony here. Jordan Peterson doesn't even believe in God, bro. Or he flip-flops back and forth on what he believes. He has this whole series of breaking down the Bible. And I made a video like a year ago on this channel where at the time I didn't know that Jordan Peterson had a history of being an atheist or being agnostic. I didn't know any of that. I just assumed, I made the assumption, the bad assumption, that he's a conservative. He works for the Daily Wire, of course, with conservative values, working at the Daily Wire. He's probably a Christian. If he doesn't follow the Jewish faith, he's probably a Christian. But when I listen to him talk about faith, I don't get the vibe that he's a Christian. I get the vibe that he's probably everything but a Christian. He does more convincing of why you should believe in God out of fear as opposed to out of faith, right? So in other words, because you don't really know if God exists or not, you may as well believe in it, as opposed to you have X, Y, and Z reasons to believe in God. Therefore, you should believe in God. If you want to check the video out, check it out here. But the fact that this dude made a random tweet and then spammed his own comment section with like 10 replies, spewing out these different Bible verses as a person that doesn't even believe in Jesus Christ, doesn't even believe in the divinity of Jesus Christ. And he's getting clowned in the comment section. You gotta know that nobody's falling for this, bro. Jordan Peterson, what happened to you, bro? That's what a lot of people are asking. What happened to him? But that's not my question. I never looked at Jordan Peterson as a person for that reason. I looked at him as an extremely intelligent person. I still look at him as that. I think he was very necessary, especially for a lot of young men in this country. What he brought to the table, I think, was extremely necessary. I think it's still necessary. However, I think he's proving that he has no backbone. And I think he's proven that he's human. And he has his limits like everybody else. Because clearly you are bending the knee and you're doing what the money over there at the Daily Wire is telling you to do. Because most of the people are, bro, you're getting clowned in the comment section. Nobody believes this, bro. You got Jeremy Boren, who calls himself the God King. And then I thought this was so interesting. Somebody in the comment section called this out. Jason Whitlock says, God King, quote unquote God King, get back to exploiting Derek Chauvin and collecting emails from potential subscribers. And what he means is, as we all know, Ben Shapiro infamously came out and said that President Trump pardoned Derek Chauvin, the guy who was involved that participated in the unaliving of George Floyd. He didn't have his knee on his neck. He had his knee on his shoulder blade. I've learned more about the situation, but I still believe that Derek Chauvin should serve time because of his participation and his lack of regard for human life in that situation. Anyways, when he came out and said that Trump should pardon Derek Chauvin, what he also said was that you should go to this website that they've created, a website that when you go to it, it's encouraging people to subscribe to the Daily Wire. And I wonder why they're doing that. Probably because they're becoming more and more unpopular amongst the conservative base, that they're trying to find and manipulate their way to getting subscribers and getting their email list back up. But I digress. Anyways, Jeremy Boren responded to this tweet and said, there's only one uppercase God King and I ain't him. There are many just asking question promoters of conspiratorial revisionists and Jew haters. You shouldn't be one of them. And somebody noticed that he actually lowercase the word him when he's referring to God. And as we all know, you should capitalize the H in him. He didn't do that. And you said, well, that's probably a mistake. A lot of people make that mistake. Well, he didn't make the mistake below when it came to the word Jew. He capitalized the word Jew, lowercase the word him, referring to God. And that speaks to a much bigger problem that Candace Owens referred to in this video. This Jew superiority that runs amongst Jews, not all of them, but especially at the Daily Wire and the people that support them, including the people that helped put this report together that Candace Owens was talking about, which ironically, 95% of everybody that participated were Jewish. I just think it's so cowardice that this woman has come out several times and said, I will debate you all. I will debate you all at the same time. She literally said this. I will debate all of you all at the same time. We want to find out what's the definition of anti-Semitism. Anybody just hold that doesn't agree with everything Israel does? Anybody that has anything critical to say about a Jewish person or multiple Jewish people? Why weren't you all this adamant and this upset when I was talking about black folks? Why is it only when it comes to Jews? You are hypocrites. You're acting just like the left. What's your definition of anti-Semitism? How come a lot of you all claim to believe in God, but you won't 100% denounce porn? You got these folks over there making the argument that while they believe that porn, especially child pornography, is a sin, they do not believe that AI-generated child pornography is a sin.
Speaking of pedophilia, suppose a man says, I view animated child porn. So there's no real victim in that sense of child pornography, which we both agree is horrendous. And by viewing animated child porn, it prevents me from acting out on a child. Now, I deny that. I think that pornography inflames us to then want to act those fantasies out, and I think there's good studies that back that up. But surely you wouldn't say to the man who views animated child pornography, that's not bad so long as you don't act it out. Wouldn't you want to help this poor sick dude?
Yes, I would, but I'm thrilled that he's not acting it out. I mean,
agreed.
Okay,
of course.
Well, that's big.
Yeah.
We're both thrilled that he might have a poor substitute, but it is a substitute if that were the case. No child is being used. Yeah. It's all animated.
Yeah.
And he
but would you use the word evil of animated child pornography? Because
no,
I certainly would.
No, I would use evil only with behavior. That's where we might differ, forgetting the sex issue. You can't be evil. You didn't do evil if you thought evil. You did evil if you committed.
If I'm masturbating to animated pictures of pornography, I'm not doing something evil.
That's correct.
Yeah, I think that's despicable. Yeah.
Really?
Yes, of course.
Who is being hurt? You have to have a victim.
Oh, I'll tell you, there's at least two people being hurt. There's the person who's poisoning himself by encouraging him to think acting out on children, and there's also the animator.
Okay, wait a minute. We both are aching for him not to have those fantasies. I agree with you, but
you won't call it evil.
I won't call a fantasy evil. Yeah. There's too much real evil on earth for me to start being preoccupied with people's thinking.
It's not just thinking; it's him masturbating to images of children.
Okay, so the real question about the whole pornography issue is not pornography; it's masturbation. There is a Catholic tradition,
I think it's both. I think both masturbation is evil, but I think pornography is a greater evil.
Okay, so I don't think masturbation is evil.
So wait, they say that their justification for that is because no children are actually being harmed. Excuse me? Excuse me? It's still a sin. Masturbation is a sin. Obviously, child pornography is a sin, and any other replication of it is a sin. It's evil. It's wrong. What are we talking about here? I think because Candace Owens is consistent, she's popular, she seems happy, she's flourishing, and they are not, it's coming back to bite them in the butt. That's what I think. And I'm loving every bit of it. I love the fact that everybody's calling him out. Jordan Peterson is just embarrassing himself. I think he's losing more and more credibility the more and more he speaks. And I can't stand hypocrites, especially when it comes to topics as prominent as this. You can't scream anti-Semitism just because somebody doesn't agree with you. You can't scream anti-Semitism just because people disagree with something Israel is doing. You can't scream anti-Semitism because we don't think that we should be funding Israel or any other country when we have all these other problems we have in our own country. Here at home, we got to get our own house in order first. You can't scream anti-Semitism if you're going to tell the left that they can't scream racism at everything. Y'all up in the comment section and let me know what y'all think about this, man. I'm Demetrius. I go by DD. That's all for this one. Until next time. Peace.
Oh yeah, DD got a podcast.